Rain was falling. The night was cold. The streets were almost empty. A young black woman, Maya, walked alone under a broken streetlight. Her clothes were wet. Her hands were shaking, but her face was calm. Suddenly, police lights flashed behind her. A car stopped fast. The door opened. A tall white police officer stepped out. His name was Officer Ryan. He looked angry. He looked like a man who already made up his mind. "Stop right there," he shouted. Maya stopped. She didn't run. She didn't speak. Ryan walked up to her quickly. "Where are you coming from?" he asked. Maya looked up at him. Her eyes were tired, but deep. "From work," she said. Ryan didn't believe her. "There was a robbery nearby," he said. "You matched the description." Maya stayed silent. Ryan continued. "A woman saw someone in a black hoodie. You're wearing a black hoodie." Maya slowly took off her hood. "That's not a crime," she said quietly. But Ryan wasn't listening. He was already sure. He grabbed her wrist and pulled out handcuffs. "You're under arrest," he said. "For what?" Maya asked, still calm. "We'll talk at the station," Ryan replied. "You can tell your story to the judge." Maya didn't fight. She didn't cry. But before she got in the police car, she turned to Ryan and said something that shook him. "One day, you'll regret this." Her voice was soft, but her words hit hard. Ryan looked at her for a moment, unsure. Then he slammed the door shut. At the police station, Maya sat in a cold room. She looked around. White walls, a broken chair, a buzzing light. Ryan came in with a file. He sat across from her. "Tell me your name," he said. "Maya," she replied. "Maya what?" She didn't answer. Ryan leaned forward. "Listen, the more you hide, the worse it looks for you." Maya looked him in the eyes. "I'm not hiding. You're just not looking." Ryan didn't understand. He opened the file and took out a photo. It was blurry, taken from a security camera. A woman running in the dark. He put it on the table. "This is you, isn't it?" Maya looked at it for a long time. Then she said, "No." Ryan slammed his hand on the table. "Stop lying." But Maya didn't even flinch. She stayed still, calm, almost too calm. "Why aren't you scared?" he asked. Maya replied, "Because the truth doesn't shake." Meanwhile, outside the room, another officer walked by and whispered to Ryan, "The boss wants this case closed fast." Ryan nodded. He looked back at Maya. She looked young, poor, alone. He thought, no one will care. No one will fight for her. He left the room, made a phone call. "Yes," he said. "I got someone. She fits. We'll charge her in the morning." He didn't know that someone was listening, and he didn't know that Maya was not just any woman. Later that night, Maya was moved to a holding cell. She sat on the floor, her hands in her lap. Another woman in the cell asked, "What did you do?" Maya replied, "Nothing." The woman laughed. "That's what they all say." Maya didn't argue. She just stared through the bars. In her eyes, there was no fear, just a strange, deep strength. The next morning, Ryan walked into the station smiling. "Case closed," he said to a fellow officer. "We've got her." "Any proof?" the officer asked. Ryan said, "Doesn't matter. She won't fight back. She's already lost." But he was wrong. Far away, a phone buzzed. A message was sent. A name was mentioned. Maya's full name. And someone who hadn't heard that name in years suddenly remembered. Someone powerful. Back in the cell, Maya stood up slowly. She looked through the bars as the sun began to rise. She whispered to herself, "They think they know me, but they don't." She closed her eyes. They will. The morning after Maya's arrest, Officer Ryan sat in his car with the windows rolled up. His coffee had gone cold, but he wasn't drinking it. He stared at his phone, waiting. Then, a message popped up. "Meet me. Same spot. Ryan started the engine and drove across town. He stopped under a bridge, where the city smelled of oil and rain. A black car was already there, waiting in the shadows. A man stepped out, sharp suit, dark eyes. His name was Mr. Carter, a local businessman with quiet power and dirty secrets. Ryan got out. "Why here?" Carter smiled. "You know why. No cameras. No questions." Ryan crossed his arms. "She's in custody." Carter nodded slowly. "Good. Now make sure she doesn't walk free." Ryan frowned. "There's no real proof." Carter leaned in close. "Then make some. A little fake evidence never hurt anyone. She fits the profile. No money. No family. No voice." Ryan hesitated. "You said this would be easy." Carter's face turned cold. "Do your job. You'll be rewarded." He handed Ryan a brown envelope. Inside were photos, blurred images of a robbery, cash, broken glass. One photo had been edited to show Maya's face in the corner. "Use it," Carter said. "This is how the system works." Ryan nodded, but his hands were shaking just a little. Back at the station, Maya was sitting in a small interview room. Her wrists were red from the cuffs, her clothes still wet from the night before. A young female officer walked in to give her food. Maya looked up, her voice soft. "Thank you," she said. The officer paused. "You okay?" Maya nodded, but there was sadness in her eyes, a kind of tiredness that didn't come from one night. It came from years. The officer stared for a second longer, then walked out, confused by the calm in Maya's face. In another room, Ryan printed out the fake photos. He added them to the file. He typed his statement. "Suspect seen fleeing the scene. Matches description. Evidence attached." He clicked save. It was done. Maya would be blamed for something she didn't do. The court would believe it. The media would ignore it. Case closed. Later that day, Maya was brought to court. She wore the same hoodie. Her hair was tied back. She walked with quiet dignity, even though her hands were cuffed. People in the courtroom stared. Some whispered, "She looks guilty." Others said nothing, just watched. Ryan sat in the witness box, confident, calm. The judge looked at Maya. "Name." She said clearly, "Maya." "Last name?" the judge asked. Maya was silent for a moment. Then she answered, "That doesn't matter right now." The judge raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Ryan stood and gave his statement. "She was near the scene. She matched the description. We found photos placing her at the robbery." He gave the file to the judge. Maya looked at it but said nothing. The judge looked at her. "Do you deny these claims?" Maya stood up. Her voice was low but steady. "I didn't do it." "Do you have proof?" the judge asked. Maya looked around the courtroom. Her eyes were searching for something, or someone. She said softly, "Not yet." Outside the courtroom, a young reporter named Lena stood near the steps. She was new, hungry for truth, and hated stories that didn't feel right. She had watched Maya enter the building. Something about her seemed familiar. She looked up the court schedule, found Maya's name. But it was only written as Maya L. Lena opened her laptop and searched deeper. Then she stopped. A photo popped up. A little girl standing next to a judge at a school event. The judge had her arm around the child, smiling. The caption read, "Retired Judge Elizabeth Graham and her goddaughter Maya Lawrence, age 10. Lena gasped. Goddaughter of a judge. Her hand shook as she closed the laptop. "What is going on here?" she whispered. Back inside, the session ended. Maya was taken back to her cell. Ryan was praised for good work. But that night, Ryan couldn't sleep. He looked at Maya's photo again. Something about her eyes. It haunted him. He poured a drink, then checked his phone. One missed call. From an unknown number. He ignored it. In the darkness of her cell, Maya lay awake. She whispered to herself, "They think I'm alone, but they don't know who I am." She closed her eyes, her voice firm now. "They will." The courtroom was quiet. A guard led Maya to her seat. Her hands were cuffed. Her face was tired, but calm. She looked around the room. Every eye was on her. People didn't see her pain. They only saw her skin, her hoodie, her silence. She sat down, her back straight, her head high. She had done nothing wrong, but today, no one believed her. Officer Ryan sat at the front. His uniform was neat. His shoes shined. He looked proud, confident. In his hand was a folder, the same folder with fake photos and false words. To everyone in the room, Ryan was the hero. To Maya, he was the reason her life was falling apart. The judge, an older man with cold eyes, entered and banged his gavel. Court is now in session. The trial had begun. Maya didn't have a private lawyer. The court gave her one. His name was Mr. Green. He was older, tired, and already looked like he had given up. He didn't ask Maya much. He didn't even look at her properly. Before the hearing, she had tried to speak. "I didn't do it," she said softly. Mr. Green only replied, "It's your word against the officers. You don't have a chance unless we get a miracle." Maya had stayed quiet after that. Now, in court, the prosecutor stood up. She pointed to Maya. "This woman was caught near the robbery. The police found evidence. She matched the description. We believe she is guilty beyond any doubt." Ryan was called to the stand. He stood tall and began to speak. His voice was smooth. His words were clean. But they were all lies. "I saw her near the store. She looked nervous. I stopped her. She ran at first. Then I caught her. We found this photo in the security camera footage." He held up the fake picture, the one Carter gave him. The judge nodded, unimpressed but accepting. Maya's lawyer didn't question the photo. He didn't even ask how clear it was. Maya sat in silence, watching her life fall apart in front of her. Then the judge turned to her. "Miss Maya," he said, "do you wish to say anything in your defense?" Maya stood up slowly. Her hands were shaking just a little, but her voice was steady. "I did not do what they say I did," she said. "I was walking home from work. I stopped at a small shop to buy milk. I was tired. I was hungry. I had nothing to hide." The judge asked, "Can anyone confirm that?" Maya shook her head. "I live alone. I don't have family. No one was with me." The judge frowned. "So, you have no proof?" Maya's eyes filled with emotion, but she held it back. "No," she said, "not yet." In the back of the courtroom, Lena, the young reporter, sat quietly. She had found Maya's full name. She had seen the old photo. Judge Elizabeth Graham's goddaughter. She stared at Maya now, wondering, why hasn't she told anyone who she is? Why hide it? Lena took out her phone and began to record. Something about this trial felt wrong. Too fast, too simple, too clean. After the first half of the trial, the judge said, "We will continue tomorrow. For now, the accused will return to custody." The guard walked over and placed cuffs on Maya again. As she was led out of the room, Maya turned and looked at Officer Ryan. Their eyes met for 1 second. She didn't speak, but Ryan felt something heavy in his chest. It was the first time he doubted himself. That night, Maya sat on the cold floor of her cell. She took off her shoes and placed them neatly beside her. She whispered into the darkness, "They want to break me, but I will not break." She thought of her godmother, Judge Graham, a woman who once told her, "The world will try to silence you, but you must speak, even if your voice shakes." Maya closed her eyes. She didn't feel strong, but she knew she had to become strong. At the same time, Officer Ryan couldn't sleep. He looked at the photos again. Something didn't feel right. He zoomed in. Maya's face in the photo, it didn't look clear. In fact, It looked at it. He went back to the report, reread the statement he had written. She ran when I approached her. But in truth, she hadn't run. He looked in the mirror. His reflection didn't look like a hero anymore. In her apartment, Lena worked late into the night. She looked up more news about Judge Graham. She read stories about her retirement, about her speeches on justice, about the little girl she raised like her own. Lena stared at the photo again. Maya was 10, smiling, proud, full of hope. Now she sat in a jail cell. Lena whispered, "Something's wrong, and I'm going to find out what it is." Back at the station, Maya sat alone. The guard had turned off the light. Only the moon lit her face through the small window. She closed her eyes and whispered one more time. "They think I am weak because I am quiet, but I carry truth in my silence." Night fell again over the city. Inside her cold jail cell, Maya sat on the floor, her back against the wall. Her arms were wrapped around her knees. She hadn't slept much in days, but her mind stayed sharp. She kept thinking about the trial, about Officer Ryan, about the fake photo, and about someone she hadn't spoken to in years, Judge Elizabeth Graham. Maya whispered her name into the dark. She hadn't seen the old woman since she was 16. But now, she needed her. In a quiet part of the city, far from the noise, Judge Elizabeth Graham was sitting by a fireplace. Her silver hair was tied back. Her face, though aged, still carried strength. She was reading an old law book when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost ignored it, but something told her to answer. "Hello," she said. There was silence on the other end for a second. Then a young female voice spoke. "Judge Graham, I think your goddaughter is in trouble." The judge sat up straight. "Who is this?" "My name is Lena. I'm a reporter. I found Maya's name on a court list. She's being charged for a robbery. But something feels wrong." The judge's voice became sharp. "Where is she now?" "In county jail," Lena replied. "Trial started today. No media coverage, no public interest. It's moving too fast." There was a pause. Then Judge Graham stood up and said firmly, "Text me everything." Now, back at the jail, Maya was called to the visitor room. She didn't know who it could be. She had no one. At least, that's what everyone believed. She sat down at the glass window. Then her eyes widened. On the other side of the glass stood a woman Maya hadn't seen in almost 10 years. Judge Elizabeth Graham. Maya's mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. The judge picked up the phone on her side. Maya slowly picked up hers. "You look tired," the judge said gently. Maya nodded. "I didn't expect to see you." "I didn't know you were here," the judge replied, "until someone showed me your name." Maya looked down. "I didn't want to call you. I thought you forgot me." The judge leaned forward. "I could never forget you. You were like a daughter to me." Tears welled up in Maya's eyes. "I didn't do it," she said. The judge nodded. "I know." Later that day, Officer Ryan sat in his car again. He stared at the dashboard. He hadn't been able to sleep for 2 nights. The words Maya had spoken echoed in his mind. "One day, you'll regret this." And now he did. He pulled out the photo again. This time, he looked at it carefully. He zoomed in. Something didn't match. The shadows, the lighting, the background. It looked edited. He pulled over at a quiet spot, opened his laptop, and started digging. He searched the time of the robbery, the location, and Maya's phone records. Then he saw something. At the exact time of the robbery, Maya's phone had pinged at a store 2 blocks away. She couldn't have been at both places. He rubbed his eyes. "What have I done?" he whispered. Back in the courtroom, the judge entered again the next morning. Maya sat with her head high this time. Beside her, a surprised face. Judge Graham, now acting as her legal advisor, had filed for special support. Everyone in the room whispered in shock. The same woman who used to sit at the judge's bench was now defending the girl in cuffs. The judge looked at her and frowned. "You can't be here. You're retired." Elizabeth Graham stood with quiet authority. "I may be retired, but I still have power to speak, and what's happening here is wrong." The judge allowed a short break. Outside the courtroom, Officer Ryan waited in the hallway. He looked nervous. Then he saw Maya. He walked toward her slowly. "Can I talk to you?" he asked. Maya looked at him with calm but cold eyes. "I review the evidence," Ryan said. I was wrong. The photo, someone gave it to me. I think it was fake." Maya didn't react. Ryan continued, "I'm sorry. I was told to close the case fast. They said you wouldn't fight back. I didn't know who you were." Maya replied, her voice steady, "You still don't." Back inside, Judge Graham stood and addressed the court. "Your Honor," she said, "new evidence has surfaced. The arresting officer now questions the evidence. A full review must be done." The courtroom was silent. The judge looked at Officer Ryan. "Is this true?" Ryan stood. His voice shook. "Yes, I believe the photo was fake. I was given it by someone outside the department." "Who?" the judge asked. Ryan hesitated, then finally said the name. "Carter. Mr. Carter." Gasps filled the room. Mr. Carter wasn't just a businessman. He had friends in politics and law enforcement. He had power. But now, he was named. The judge banged his gavel. "This trial is now paused. An investigation will begin immediately." Maya felt her chest rise and fall slowly. Not free yet, but something had shifted. That evening, Lena released her story online. Wrongfully accused. The hidden power behind Maya's case. It went viral in hours. People began to ask questions. The public started to care. And Maya's quiet voice had finally reached the world. In her cell that night, Maya looked out the small window. For the first time, she saw stars. She whispered to herself, "They used my silence against me, but my name has power now. They will know the truth." The next morning, the world was different. Maya sat on the edge of her jail bed, holding a small newspaper in her hands. It had been slipped to her by a kind guard who said quietly, "You're on the front page." Maya looked down. The headline read, "Innocent or Framed. The goddaughter of Judge Elizabeth Graham speaks." Her photo was there. Not the one from the fake evidence, but a real photo. One from her past, when she was still smiling, still free. At the same time, in homes and offices all over the city, people were reading about her story. Some were shocked. Others were ashamed they had judged her too fast. One man who wasn't reading the paper was Mr. Carter. He was pacing inside his office, furious. He slammed the newspaper down on his desk. "She was supposed to disappear," he hissed. "Just another quiet face behind bars." His phone rang. "Sir," a voice said, "the news is spreading fast. People are asking questions. They're looking into your connection with Officer Ryan." Carter gritted his teeth. "Handle it, or we all go down." At the police station, Officer Ryan sat quietly at his desk. He wasn't in uniform. His badge had been taken. He had been suspended while the investigation began. For the first time in years, he felt what guilt really meant. He had followed orders. He thought it was just another case. But Maya's eyes, her calm strength, it haunted him. He opened a notebook and began writing. "This is everything I know about Carter." Back at the courthouse, Judge Elizabeth Graham met with a group of lawyers and media reporters. Her voice was firm and clear. "This is no longer just about Maya," she said. "This is about a system that punished an innocent woman without proof, because of the color of her skin, and because they thought she had no one." Lena, the young reporter, stood nearby, recording every word. She later posted the video online with the title, "They thought she was alone, but they were wrong." It reached 1 million views in 2 days. Inside the jail, Maya was called to the visitor's room again. This time, The visitor wasn't a lawyer or a judge. It was Lena, holding her camera in one hand, a notebook in the other. Maya smiled softly when she saw her. "Thank you," Maya said. "You didn't have to help." Lena sat down. "You shouldn't be here, and the world needed to know." She turned on the camera. "May I ask you something, for the people watching?" Maya nodded. "Why didn't you tell anyone who you were? That you were Judge Graham's goddaughter?" Maya looked down, then answered slowly. "Because I wanted to be heard for who I am, not who I'm connected to." She continued, "Too many people like me are forgotten. They don't have powerful names. No judge comes for them. I thought if I stayed silent, maybe someone would listen just to my truth." Lena's eyes filled with emotion. "You stayed quiet," she said, "but now the world is listening." The next court session was different. News crews were outside. Protesters held signs. Some read, "Free Maya. Justice for the silenced." Inside, the judge reviewed Officer Ryan's new statement. In it, he confessed everything. How Carter had pressured him, how the photo was fake, how he didn't question it. The courtroom fell silent as the judge read the last line aloud. "I was wrong. Maya is innocent." Gasps, then silence. The judge looked at Maya. "This court recognizes a serious failure in due process. Ms. Maya Lawrence is released, effective immediately." As the guard unlocked her cuffs, Maya felt something she hadn't felt in weeks. Freedom. She stood, hands shaking, heart pounding. Judge Graham walked over and hugged her tightly. Tears rolled down Maya's cheeks. She didn't wipe them away. Outside, the crowd cheered as Maya stepped through the doors. Cameras flashed. People clapped. Reporters shouted questions. But Maya didn't speak right away. Instead, she turned to the crowd and raised her hand. Then she said, "I was silenced because I looked like someone they could blame. But I speak now, not just for me, but for every person who has no voice." The crowd grew quiet, listening. "This is not the end," she said. "This is the start of something bigger." That night, Lena uploaded the final part of her report. It ended with Maya standing outside the court, free, proud, and unbroken. The title, "She Never Gave Up." The woman they tried to erase. In a dark room, far from the celebration, Mr. Carter watched the video on his screen. He turned it off halfway. He knew what was coming next. The investigation had begun. Names were being exposed. And for the first time, he was the one being watched. At home, Maya stood at a window, looking out at the night sky. She breathed in deeply. No bars, no fear, just air and hope. She whispered to herself, "They tried to bury me, but I was a seed. And now, I grow." The sky was cloudy the next morning. But inside the city, a storm was already brewing. For the first time in years, Mr. Carter, a man who had always walked above the law, was now under investigation. His name was on every news channel. His photo was on every screen. People were asking, "Who is this man that tried to destroy Maya's life?" And slowly, the answers began to appear. In a small, quiet government office, a team of lawyers opened files. Each one had Carter's name on it. Old cases, land deals, arrest reports, police favors, secret payments. So many papers, so many secrets. One file caught everyone's attention. The same officer, Ryan, had helped Carter before. And in each case, a person of color had been arrested. Fast, without evidence. The truth was darker than anyone had expected. Meanwhile, Officer Ryan was called into a special court. He stood in front of a panel of judges, no badge, no power left. He confessed everything. "I took money. I closed cases quickly. I didn't ask questions. I trusted Carter." His voice broke as he added, "But Maya, she changed something in me. Her silence was louder than my lies." He looked down. He had lost everything. But for once, he spoke the truth. "Lena, The young reporter kept digging. She went deeper into Carter's past. She spoke to families who had suffered because of him. She found people who had lost jobs, homes, and freedom. One man, Mr. Davis, said, "Carter ruined me. He used the police like his own army, and no one ever stood up to him until Maya." Lena wrote another story. One man's power, many people's pain. It went viral. The world was watching now. At her small apartment, Maya sat by her window. She was free, but her mind was still heavy. Judge Graham sat beside her, holding a warm cup of tea. "You don't have to keep fighting," the old judge said. "You've done enough." But Maya shook her head. "No, I'm not done. Carter didn't just try to silence me. He did this to others. I was lucky. I had you and Lena, but most people have no one." Her eyes were clear. "I want justice for all of them." A few days later, Maya walked into a courtroom. Again. But this time, she wasn't the one on trial. Mr. Carter was. He wore a dark suit, but there was no power in his eyes, no pride in his walk. Maya sat at the front row, silent. As the trial began, Carter's crimes were read aloud. Fraud, corruption, tampering with evidence, framing innocent people. One by one, witnesses came forward. Even Officer Ryan testified again, this time against Carter. "I did what he told me. But I was wrong," Ryan said. "He used us all." Carter's lawyers tried to defend him. They said he was a businessman, a leader, a man who got things done. But the truth was clear. Carter had built his empire on fear, on lies, on silence. And now it was crumbling. Outside the court, crowds gathered. They held signs. Justice, finally. No more silent victims. Some people cried. Others simply stood in silence, honoring all those who were never heard. Inside, the judge finally spoke. "Mr. Carter," he said, "you used your money and influence to break the law. You destroyed lives for your own gain. But today, the law will not protect you." The sentence was announced. 20 years in prison. Gasps, then cheers. Carter was led away in handcuffs, the same cold cuffs that once held Maya. Justice had spoken. That night, Maya sat on her balcony. She looked up at the stars again. Lena sat across from her, typing up the final chapter of the story. "So," Lena asked, smiling softly, "what's next for you?" Maya looked out into the night. "I don't know," she said, "but I know what's behind me." She took a deep breath. "No more silence. No more fear. I'm going to help others find their voice." A week later, Maya stood in front of a group of young girls at a community center. Some of them had been through hard times. Some had no families, no support. But they looked up at her with wide eyes. She told them her story, not the courtroom one, but the real one. A girl who had no voice, who stood alone, who faced power and won. And at the end, she said, "If they try to silence you, speak louder." The girls clapped. Some cried. And in that moment, Maya knew this was just the beginning. Across the city, a jail cell slammed shut on Carter. His world had shrunk to 4 walls. No suits, no friends, no silence to hide behind. Just time and regret. Back in the news studio, Lena ended her final report with these words. He had power, she had truth. And in the end, truth won. A few months had passed. The city looked the same from a distance. Busy streets, tall buildings, people rushing through their lives. But something had changed. People had started paying attention, not just to headlines, but to voices that had once been ignored. And at the center of that change was Maya. Since Carter's arrest, Maya had been invited to speak at colleges, community centers, and even courtrooms. But she wasn't chasing fame. She was chasing truth. She called her mission justice for the forgotten. And it wasn't just a dream anymore. It was becoming real. With the help of Lena, the young reporter, and Judge Elizabeth Graham, Maya started a small foundation. They offered free legal help to those who had been wrongly accused. They told their stories, and slowly people began to listen. One cold morning, Maya sat in her new office, a small bright room with a desk, a plant, and a large whiteboard covered in names. Each name had a date and a short note. Carlos, arrested without warrant. Janelle, photo evidence doesn't match. Sam, no lawyer present during trial. Maya touched the names gently. Every name matters, she whispered. Outside, a knock came at the door. It was a woman holding her son's photo in her hands. Her voice shook as she spoke. They took him, said he stole a car. But he was home. He was eating dinner with us. Maya looked her in the eyes and nodded. We'll help, she said softly. In the courtroom a few weeks later, Maya sat behind a young man named Tyrell, a teenager accused of robbery. He looked scared, alone. Maya leaned forward and whispered, "Breathe. You're not alone. I'm here." The trial was hard. The evidence was weak, just like in Maya's case. But this time, justice had eyes open wide. The judge reviewed the facts and cleared Tyrell's name. Tears fell from his mother's eyes. He ran to Maya and hugged her tightly. "Thank you," he whispered. "You saved my life." She smiled. "No, you saved it. I just stood beside you." News about Maya's foundation spread. People who had once stayed quiet were now stepping forward. A young man from another state wrote, "I saw your story online. They arrested me too. No one believed me. But now I have hope." A woman wrote, "You gave me courage to fight for my brother. I didn't know we had a voice until you used yours." Maya read each message, one by one. Some made her cry, others made her angry. But all of them reminded her why she had chosen this path. One evening, Lena sat across from Maya in their small office. She held up her phone and smiled. "You're not going to believe this," she said. Maya looked up. "What?" Lena turned the screen around. It showed a message from the mayor's office. They wanted to honor Maya with a community award for justice and courage. Maya paused. "I didn't do this for awards," she said. "I know," Lena replied, "but you deserve it." The award ceremony was quiet and simple. No red carpet, no flashing lights. Just people, real people. Families Maya had helped. Teenagers she had saved. Lawyers who had joined her cause. When her name was called, she walked slowly to the stage. The room went silent. She stood in front of the mic and looked at all the faces before her. Then she spoke. "I was once just a name in a jail file. A number. Another black woman accused and forgotten. But I had a voice. And when they tried to silence me, I spoke louder. This isn't just my fight. This is our fight. Every day, someone is blamed without reason. Every day, someone is judged for how they look, not who they are. But if we keep standing, if we keep speaking, we become stronger than fear." The room clapped. Some people wiped their eyes. Judge Graham stood with pride. Lena recorded every word, tears in her eyes. Later that night, Maya sat on her balcony again, just like she used to. The stars were above her, quiet and endless. She thought of the journey. From a jail cell, to a courtroom, to a voice that reached the world. Maya whispered softly to the sky. "They tried to erase me. But now, I help others write their story." Far away, in another small town, a young girl watched a video of Maya's speech. She had been arrested last week. No one believed her. But when she heard Maya's voice, she smiled for the first time in days. And she whispered to herself, "If she can rise, maybe I can too."